You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And you'll be surprised what type of show we got going on tonight here. I am Joe D. McPhee, and welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And tonight is going to be kind of the weirdest night of all because we got books, more books, accountability, and a very, I want to say a very controversial topic, but I want to start this conversation because it probably needs to be had in the collecting sphere of things here when it comes to graded comics here. But before we get into anything, we have to do our normal business here because we have to get the boring stuff out the way, such as telling everybody that Stupid O'Clock still happens at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour into this show. And then that's followed up by Last Man Standing. And then you have a little bit of a respite until Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Never Mind the Furthermore. And yes, we will be right back here Thursday for Comic Book Spectrum. And we're going to be talking about comics, reviewing some comics, and talking about geek culture and all that great stuff here. So without further ado, let me come back on the regular channel for a second here. New comic book pickups for the week is going to be a little bit weird. And the reason we're going to be a little bit weird because we had a partial, if I could say, reveal of some Whatnot Hulk packs, which we had to pre-record because we were selling those issues on Whatnot earlier today. So we have that pre-recorded. Plus, I have several piles, not boxes, not a box, not two boxes. We got piles of books that we have to go through for new comic books for the week before we get into our topic. So without further ado, let's get into the video here. We're going to do this first part of new comic book pickups for the week. Actually, this part is early because why? We got a couple of the Hulk packs that finally came in here. I was not able to be a part of the actual sale itself, but I was able to pick up a couple of packs here, and we're going to take a quick little look to see what we got and how well we kind of sort of did with these packs. It was nice enough for them to give us the box that went along with it, but I don't think we're going to need it here. So we're going to open up these packs here. A good majority of these will be on our next Whatnot sale that happened earlier today here, when we finally get to see these books for the first time on new comic book pickups for the week here. Right now, I'm trying to cut the bit of packing tape that's here on the bubble wrap before I could get the packs out, where we could take a look to see what we got. Hopefully we have a couple of good grabs here. And the reason why we're doing it this way is doing it early, this part early during new comic book pickups for the week, because these books will be on sale on our Whatnot show that happens earlier, before the show that happened at about 5 o'clock that evening here. So these are books that will probably end up being sold. So I'm taking the scissors now. We're going to open up the first pack here. We're going to get them bagged and boarded, and we're going to see if we hit the jackpot here with a possible sketch variant here. The first book we have here definitely going to get sold because a lot of this stuff is, as far as I'm concerned, it's reprint material. We end up getting a Sam Wilson Captain America #6. That's definitely going into the pile of books to be sold on Whatnot this during our next Whatnot show. And for those who are watching the show as of now on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, that show has probably already happened here. I just need to turn around and grab some boards that I have stuck behind here unless I move them again. Nope, they're right here. They're right here. So I'm hoping that I get something that I could keep, because the majority of the Hulk packs or the Captain America packs, depending on how you look at it, the majority of these are like books that I already have. These are like reprint. As far as I'm concerned, they're reprints, but they are going to be considered Whatnot variants because they are primarily reprinted for them. So that will be up for sale on my next Whatnot show, which is probably, like I said, this Whatnot show happens after. The Whatnot show happens before we are showing these here on From the Desk here. So it's kind of like talking weird when you're ahead of the game, ahead of time, but not on time. We got another trade dress of Hulk #22. And like I stated before, I have an actual first printing of that book here. And we're going to put this on our Whatnot sale. So far we got 2 books that I really don't care about, which is going to get sold on our Whatnot sales as of right now. So we can put them in Mylars and everything to get them ready for Saturday. So we got that one all ready to go. And it looks like this is a gold. We ended up getting a gold Cap 6. So we got a gold Cap 6 here. So a gold Captain America issue 6. That will be also up for sale. I'm not keeping it. I'm not keeping it because, like I said, it's like I'd rather just keep my first print here. Not really, banking on a whole bunch of stuff here. If I get a sketch cover, I'm happy, because I'm keeping it. But, I'm up here. I'm kind of happy so far that the first pack that I opened, I did end up buying a total of 3. So the first 2 got here. So out of the first pack, and we're going to go over this again here. This is out of the first pack. We got a regular Cap 6, trade dress Hulk 22, and a gold Cap 6. So those are definitely going to be available on our Whatnot sale for Whatnot sales here if it doesn't sell by the time the show happens here. And we got our last pack here. I'm planning not to sell it as a blank pack here. And what happened to my scissors? Huh. I just have my scissors here. Oh, there they are. Just don't know how I got the stuff sitting all over the place. So we're going to take the handy dandy scissors. Doing kind of like the reveal here. We got 3 more. Oh yeah, we got more sales fodder at this point. Because the first book, I'm putting the board and stuff in there now. The first book in this one, I believe this is Cap. Yeah, Sam Wilson Cap 3. This is the Sam Wilson Cap Cap Wolf cover version will be on the Whatnot sale. And that's kind of like the one thing that I'm kind of looking forward to. It's like, hopefully I don't have to go to Whatnot. Version Cap 6. So I think I got an idea now since I got the trade, the version, and a gold. I think I'm going to try to sell it as a set. And I'll probably set the set for like maybe like 150, 200 for all three. So there's the version. And gold Cap Wilson 3. So I do have some books that could fetch some money. And we just gotta wait to see how issue the third pack that comes in, hopefully by tomorrow or Saturday. I believe it's I believe they said next week. So by the 12th, I have a third pack coming in, and hopefully by then we got something that's pretty nice and decent here. So to recap the last pack here, we ended up getting version Cap Wilson 3, version Cap Wilson 6, and then the gold Cap Wilson. So pretty much, I'm not certain how I'm going to do it. I might do that as a set. Probably be maybe like maybe like, since that's a gold cover, probably do it for like 125 for the set. And then I could do this as a set for like close to 200. You got your gold, or you got the gold version and trade all together. But we'll see. It depends on how I feel when we get to the time to actually do the Whatnot show. But those are the packs here. So that's part 1 of the non-live version of New Comic Books for the Week. And we're probably going to have part 2 coming here soon. Check you later, and we're going to go back to the studio now. And here we are again, back here in the studio. That was the first part here. Now, I'm going to say some hellos because I was still in the background talking to people here. We got Aaron, aka the Psychotronic Squirt Gun, in the house here. And he was talking to me while we were showing what we got in the Hulk packs here. Now, like I said, I got 4 piles worth of books here. I can start what's in front of me, I can start what's in the back of me, or I can start what's on the side of me. It depends on what you guys want to see first. So you get to pick front, side, or back. Yeah, though. Yeah. Oh, Victoria's here. So we got Tori in the house. Yeah, those are kind of neat. But wait till you see what I really got. And that's what we're about to do here. But I need some direction for you. Are we going to do front, side, or back first? Because like I said, I got 2 piles in front of me, 1 off to the side of me, and 1 behind me. So I just need to know here. So Aaron says back, so we're going to go back here, unless somebody else says different. Side. Okay, so we got side and we got back here. Do we have a tiebreaker? We need a tiebreaker here. I know, and I see that 3 people are here, but I guess the other person is not there. So I'm going to go any, mini, money, mo. Any, mini, money, mo. She-Hulk is right there. I'm just going to go with that pile right here. So the pile off to my side begins like this here. And like I said, this is about to be some good stuff. We start off with, coming from my buddy over there or whatnot, Bullet 568. Start off with Sensational She-Hulk 15 Newsstand Edition. The first time she ever turned gray. Yeah, that's a first that's a good one here. Then we got Newsstand Dazzler number 21. Nice. And I was able to pull this off here. And this one is a lot better than the one that I have out there on Whatnot as of right now, so I'm keeping it. Volume 1, Wonder Woman 190. You know, these are the books that I know Aaron likes because these are more of the vintage ones. And if you was here for Comic Book Spectrum last week, I talked about this book, but I got 2 copies of it, 2 different variant covers. We got Scorch 1. So we have this She Spawn cover and that She Spawn cover for Scorch number 1. I'm trying to hold it sideways because it's Mylar and it has a lot of glare. Then we also have the special last day of the Justice Society number 1, which is a kind of a keeper. Then this one I'm just going to keep because it's a number 1. It's volume. Is this volume 2? I believe it's volume 2. Volume 2, New Warriors. So that's more modern. And then we got the more modern Howard the Duck number 3. And Howard is an actually great character in the Marvel Universe. I think a lot of people sleep on Howard the Duck. Then we also got Silver Surfer Annual number 1. I believe this is from like the second or third volume of Silver Surfer. I keep forgetting how many volumes of Silver Surfer there are out there. And then here's another one I put it in Mylar just to kind of keep it a little bit more preserved here. And the only I think I'm missing issue 1, but the reason I got it is because Marvel Chillers number 3 was the beginnings of Tigra. The first time we actually get Tigra in Marvel Chillers 3. But this is Marvel Chillers number 2, where we have Mordred the Mystic. So that's where that's coming from here. Yep. And it's like, I need that DOS. Oh, you do? Ooh, okay. Okay. We might have to talk about some stuff here, because if I get more of them, I will probably send some your way here. We got Wonder Woman 226. Again, that's an extra one. This is a pretty decent copy of it. You know, it might end up being trade fodder, FODDR. We also got Dazzler 22. Now I know I have a couple of copies of this, so this is the whole Dazzler versus Rogue. And we still haven't finished with this pile yet. I haven't even gotten nowhere near the bottom of this pile. In Mylar, the direct edition of 21. This is the direct edition here. So this is the one that Eric kept saying, like, oh, I need this one. And then I believe this is either my 3rd or 4th copy of it. Red Sonja 1. So there it is, Red Sonja 1. And some of our favorites here. When Rogue joins the X-Men. X-Men 171. And then my girl Jessica Drew, starting with Spider-Woman number 9. And then we got Spider-Woman 30. And then we got Spider-Woman 31. See, this is some good stuff here. Very, very good stuff here. Yep, he's saying, oh, he need Mordred the Mystic. Yep. I have old Wonder Woman in Beetle. Yep. Oh, you haven't seen old Wonder Woman. I'm going to show you some old Wonder Woman tonight. I got the 14 that I paid for a long time ago that cost me close to $1,000 here. So we're going to see some old Wonder Woman tonight here. Yep, Rogue and yep, Frank. Yep, that's Sonya all right here. Now we're going to get into some more modern stuff here. We're going to get into some modern GI Joes here. This is going to be more of the more current stuff here. So we got, I think this is Void Rival 16. I'm not certain here, but this is like the coloring book cover. And then my favorite from Bill Black, Film Force 205. I still have to catch up on my Film Force. I still have a lot in the hundreds, from like 100 to from like 110 or something to like 200 to like this number here. There's a lot in that gap that I had to catch up on. We finally got the very first issue of Magic 1. So we finally got that first issue here. And then we got DuckTales number 2. And then we got the harder to find Silver Sable 35. So I'm getting close to finalizing my Silver Sable collection, where I have every last issue of Silver Sable and the Wild Pack. And then more modern GI Joes. We got towards the end of the Image run, where we have 312, both the colored in and the sketch variant. Then we got 313 with the sketch variant. And then we got the last issue of Scarlet. So we got Scarlet 5 in that variant and Scarlet 5 in this aspect here. And then we get into the new Skybound, Image Skybound version of it, where we start off with the sketch version. And this one right here. And then our second printing of G.I. Joe 1. And this second printing right here of G.I. Joe number 1. And then we follow it up with G.I. Joe 2. And this variant of G.I. Joe 2. And then G.I. Joe 3. And I'm still trying to get used to the fact that the Baron is on the Joe size for right now. I'm still trying to get used to that. And the variant of G.I. Joe 3 plus another variant of G.I. Joe 3. And then we got G.I. Joe 4 and this variant. And I believe this is the Cover Girl variant. So we got those G.I. Joes there that I have to catch up on. And then let's get the other stuff that we got here. Oh, yeah, we got. Yeah, this would be a. Yep, I got to get all of these here because we're going to stop with this one. And we still haven't got to the bottom of the pile as of yet. So I finally got the last issue of Plastic Man No More. And if you've been keeping up with Comic Book Spectrum, I've been reviewing this book. This book has been great. This book is this is a underappreciated book, Plastic Man No More. And it's really dealing with how Eel O'Brien, or I should say Patrick Eel O'Brien, is dealing with the possibility of his mortality, because he is dying. He's actually losing his ability to be plastic in a way. So we got the A cover in this variant here. I think it's only two that's on that here. And then I got my Birds of Prey here. And yes, I do like me some Birds of Prey. And I get to catch up on it now. So we finally got issue 16, this variant of 16, and this I'm locked up, they won't let me out variant of 16, and 17, and this variant with Nubia and Black Canary for issue 17. And this one with Black Canary and Barbara Gordon, aka Oracle / Batgirl, the original Batgirl here. And then we got 18, and this version of 18, and this version of 18, and then we got back to 16 here. So we got those here. I was like almost about to get ready to say 19. I was like, no, that's 16 here. And then I could finally get caught up on my Storm readings. Why? Because we got all these storms that came in. So, oh yeah, we about to get into it. Yes, Film Force. Yes. Oh, Aaron, if you only knew. If you only knew, it's like, I go way back with Film Force. Back in my college days, I used to have a Film Force appreciation fan site on GeoCities back in the day when I was in college. So yeah, Film Force, my love for Film Force goes back to my college days here. I got a 944 of that Sonya. Oh, cool. Nice. Hey Don, how's it going? Yeah, you like Birds of Prey too. I do too. So I finally got the missing variants that I have for Storm that my the person who I buy my comics from over the web here. He finally got my missing ones here. They got my cover A and the other variant that didn't come in. Then I got my issue 3, and there's another issue 3, and there's another variant of issue 3, and then we got issue 4 here with her in Doom. And then if you pay attention to this is an homage to an X-Men cover for Storm 4. So yeah, that's a homage to I can't remember. I want to say it's X-Men 130, I believe, but I could be wrong on that. And there's the other variant of X-Men 4, and this is the variant of X-Men 4 that everybody is flocking to right now with her with the cowboy hat on and everything. That's the one that's everybody's up here going goo goo gaga over. And there's another variant of Storm here. And then this is the harder to find Marvel Rivals version of this. I believe this is a Peach. No, this is not Peach, is it? Or is it Peach? I don't know. It just had that flair, but that's the Marvel Rivals version of it. And then we got issue number 5. And this is part of the One World Up Under Doom type scenario. And then there's the other variant for issue 5. And then we got Storm Life Dream. So there's another miniseries for Storm called Life Dream here. So we got the Marvel's Voices special, this version of Storm Life Dream, and that one right there. All these different pretty covers for Storm here. And yet we're still not at the bottom of the pile that's off to my side here. I believe we're almost at the end because I'm seeing Catwoman. And I think there's a lot of Catwoman here. No, I'm wrong. But we're at the end. We're at the end. It's not all Catwoman, but I'll cover that when we get to it. And like I was saying on my whatnot feed, I'm about to get ready to read and try to enjoy one series because I finally have the whole mini series in hand. And I can't read it. I couldn't read it before. It was like if it was towards the end, if I was missing like issue 4, I could have read it, but I couldn't read this particular miniseries because I was missing an issue in the middle. So it did not make it sense where I like read issue 1 and jump to like issue 3 or 5 or something to that magnitude. So it made sense just to wait here. So we got Catwoman 70, the Frank Cho kind of sketch variant with all of the hashing. And then this variant of issue 70, there's 71 with the Frank Cho. Let me get it back all full up in the screen here for you guys can see it. A lot of this is stuff in the Mylar, so I'm trying to keep the glare out of it here. And there's 71 variant and the other 71 variant. Trying to keep the glare out of it. Then you got issue 72. The other 72, Frank Cho. And there's the other Catwoman 72. And this is the look. I think I'm too cute because they kind of make me more anime-ish looking here. You know, cutesy type cover for issue 72. And then there's issue 73. Now we're getting to the more noir type stuff for Frank Cho. And I believe that this is the Hush version of issue 73. And then this is, who did this one? Dan Panesian version of Catwoman 73. So that's all Catwoman. And the series that I can finally start reading now, since I have the missing middle issue. Finally got my Gotham Sirens issue 2. There's the A cover. There's the Beetlejuice cover for issue 2. Boo. I'm not a Harley Quinn fan, by the way. That's why I'm going boo. That one is not too bad. It's like it has all of them together, and I don't know who's dressed up in the bunny outfit. Boo. I'm not a big Harley Quinn fan. And then I got the foil version. That's an actual foil. You can't. I got to bring it up close where you can see like the wavy lines where it's like have like the wavy foiliness in it. But there it is. And then here we go with the Gotham Sirens Uncovered. And if you don't know what the Uncovered series is, it's this them talking about all the different covers for Gotham Sirens. So we have the actual A cover, that's the B cover for Sirens. That's the, I forgot which cover that one is for Gotham City Sirens. And we got the foil for Uncovered here. And that is the full stack that's to the side of it. Now, since Aaron was interested in what's behind me, Aaron's about to see the jackpot stuff. And when I say the jackpot stuff, we're talking about the older books, the harder to get books. And when I say the harder to get books, I really mean the really harder to find and get and maintain books here. So without further ado, the jackpots behind me here. We start out with Spider-Woman number 4. So that's a good one here. Another book that I can't wait to read here, even though it's a second printing, Rogue Savage Land number 1. So that's kind of like one of those books that I'm kind of happy to have here. And then we got She-Hulk number 1. I believe that this was from volume 5. Volume 5. This is not from the last Sensational She-Hulk run. So it's for the series before that. And I finally got a copy of that here. Now, these were actually gifted to me more so than I bought them here. But we got Margie's Little Lulu here. And I don't know issue numbers for Dell and Gold Key type stuff. So we got this Little Lulu here, that one, and that one. Those were kind of gifted to me here. Now, I promise you guys, old Wonder Woman, I got you. Don't ever say that I don't have people's back when they ask me, hey, can you show me some old Wonder Woman? How about Wonder Woman 77? That finally came in the mail today. I wouldn't say today, but over this week. Wonder Woman 77. How about Wonder Woman 85? That came, in the mail. 102. Yes, these are the ones that I was paying piecemeal on for the longest time. Wonder Woman 110. These are all Volume 1 Wonder Womans here. Like I said, I am dead serious about getting every last issue of Volume 1 here. 117. $120. Now this one has some writing on it. I'm going to try to bring it to the camera for you can see that it does have some writing on it and everything. I think this is like I think I have another copy of 120, but it is what it is. Wonder Woman 130. Wonder Woman 153, Wonder Woman 161, and this is all volume 1, baby. We don't get any more classic than this. Wonder Woman 162, Wonder Woman 169. Yeah, that's a Caterpillar Man. And then we got Wonder Woman 170, the gorilla that falls in love with her. Yeah, these are old school greats here. Wonder Woman 172. I know that this is an extra copy here. And then we got another extra copy of issue 203. So we got those out the way here. But no, we're not done with Wonder Woman as of yet. Now we're going to go to the more new school Wonder Woman here. And the more new school Wonder Woman goes as this here. So Tori, I'm about to catch up to where you're up here was asking me questions about it. So I finally going to get caught up on it because they're finally here. So we got issue number 16 and its variants here. Her in the invisible plane. Well, actually, that's 15. Did I say 15? Yeah, I should have said 15. So those are the two for 15. I don't know why I said 16, but they're 16. They're 16. Look at the chibi one in the invisible jet. And then 16 again. And then her with Detective Chimp in kind of a noir setting. Yes, that is Detective Chimp right there. And let me try to catch up with some of the comments here. Yeah, GeoCities used to be very good. You know, you could create all these different pages and everything and keep everything together before they went down. And to be quite honest, that was the only free way you could have your own website, is to go through communities like GeoCities and do it that way. And it's like, I like Jester Holly before the new 52. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It ran from for 15 issues. Okay. Oh, come on now, David. You know what my bread and butter is. And then there they are. There they are, this whole thing. Again, I try not to get too upset about the King run of Wonder Woman, but there's just so much stuff that is just not right. But I like this cover with all four of them together. And then there's another one. This is the David Nakayama version. And then they going to go sexy with the swimsuit one, which I'm like, okay, you know, for those who want the TNA. And there's one where she's playing Cat's Cradle with the Lasso of Truth here for 17. And then we got the A cover of 18. So I got books to catch up on here, but we're still not done with Wonder Woman. Why? You really want to know why? Because now we got to go through Absolute Wonder Woman, starting with Absolute Wonder Woman Noir, which is like, I believe this is the reprinting in more of a noir standpoint for Absolute Wonder Woman 1. We have that. We have the blank cover. And we got the silver foil. And then we got the second printing. No, well, yeah, I think this is the second printing of issue 1. The foil second printing of issue 1. More second printing issue 1. More second printing of issue 1. Third printing of issue number 1. Third printing of issue number 1. And now we're finally getting to issue 2. something that where I could start back to reading Absolute Wonder Woman. I read Absolute Wonder Woman 1 already, but now I could catch up because I have issue 2. Its variant here and this variant here, which should be reminiscent of shoot, Sensation. Is this Sensation? Yes. No, it probably is Sensation Comics 1. Kind of like a similar post to Sensation Comics 1 with the foil of it. And then we got this one here for issue 2. We got a lot of different variants of issue 2 here. This one is pretty nice. I like the graphics on that one here. And then we got issue 3. That variant of issue 3. This variant of issue 3. This is more of like a grittier version of her. Issue 4. So yeah, I got a lot of catching up to do. I don't have to read every last one of these books. I just have to read one of the issue 4s, one of the issue 3s, one of the issue 2s to get caught up here. And there it is, all of issue 4. And that's all of the more modern Wonder Womans that came in. But yet there is more, because I got 2 piles in front of me. We're not done. And this is the strange thing. We are not done with new comic book pickups for the week as of yet. There is more. And people are up here like, it can't be more. Oh, yes, there is. We're going to start with the smaller pile in front of me here. So we got this one I'm also going to read too. We got the beginnings of Godzilla versus America, and the very first part of Godzilla versus America is Godzilla versus Chicago. So I get to read that now. Then we got Wonder Woman 124. This is Adam Hughes. This is a Satana #1 sketch variant, blank sketch cover, I should say. So I get to go to a convention and probably put some stuff on it later on. Wonder Woman 106. This is from volume 2, just like the other one was. And then we got JLA issue #1. This is the Justice League of Amazons. So that was definitely a short-lived series there. And in addition to that, we got Film Force 3, Dazzler #2, Batgirl and Birds of Prey #1 Rebirth, Catwoman Defiant first printing, Miss Marvel 7, Catwoman New 5228, Il O'Brien #3, or Plastic Man, I call it Il O'Brien, Mr. Miracle #1 from volume 2, New Mutants 74, Doom 2099-1, Razor 45. So we got Razor Uncut 45, New Mutants 68, Wonder Woman 147. This is, I still got to clean it up a little bit more, but this is Happy Birthday, Martha Washington. If you ever follow Frank Miller, you know, the stuff that he did for Dark Horse, the whole Martha Washington story here. I think the only one that I don't have is, I think it was like one of the, I think I don't have the space one. I know I got Give Me Liberty, Martha Washington Goes to War, Happy Birthday, Martha Washington. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 different Martha Washington series. I think I'm only missing one. 1987 Strontium Dog Special 1. And then Mystery Quarterly #1. So this is like my 4th or 5th Mystery Quarterly, but this one is in nicer condition than some of the other ones here. But yet there's still more comics to come here. And what was this comment here? The lack of Diana and King's, the lack of Diana and the King's run is starting to make my eyes twitch. Yeah. Now, I have to separate this last stack into two different stacks here. This is going to be the stack that I'm not keeping, as opposed to the stack that I am keeping. This small stack right here is stuff that's probably going to end up in a whatnot sale. It starts out with Strange 99 meets Spider-Man 2099. Warlord number 69. Warriors of Plasm number 2. Wolverine 105. Batman Day Harley Quinn. Deadman number 4. Wolverine 111. Team 7 number 3. And that one's I'm definitely keep because it's upside down because I had them separated by direction here. So those are the ones that will probably end up at a whatnot sale very soon here. And the stack that I'm actually keeping, this is going to be a lot of X-Men related titles here. House of X 4, House of X 4 of 6. Exosaurus Handbook. Exosaurus Destruction Issue 1. Magic on the cover here. X4 number 5. This is X-Men and Fantastic Four together. X4 issue 5. Phoenix 1. And here's another one that Aaron's going to love here. Shayna the She-Devil 2. It's not issue 1, but it is issue 2. So I was able to swing that here. This one I'm only keeping because this is a Satana issue here, but this is Shadow Pack 16. But because there's Satana up in this issue, I'm only keeping that. Only because I don't have this in issue format. I bought this, and I'm still going to get all the issues to it. Wonder Woman 77 meets the Bionic Woman. So now I get to read the full series here, but I'm still going to get the other missing issues that I don't have here. And besides, this one is a little bit damaged, but I was able to get it pretty cheap here. We got Exosaurus Creation 1, issue 1. It's issue 1. That is correct. And then we got Uncanny Avengers number 1. And then we're going to set the Wayback Machine back into the days because we got Lois Lane number 100. Lois Lane 101. And then we got some Howard the Duck, old school Howard the Duck number 10. And then we got the Incredible Hulk Ash Can. This is my second copy of this Ash Can here. This Ash Can, I believe, I forgot the issue already. It's in the 400s, but this Ash Can actually represents the same issue where Rick Jones get married to Marla. So that's the Ash Can version of that here. We got some old school Flash 245 here. And then we get into some real X-Men. And when I talk about some real X-Men, we're talking about old school 156. And with the Starjammers, Corsair and the Starjammers. 169. Do you guys know what that issue is? First Morlocks. It's the first Morlocks. 170. The battle that we get to see in the first X-Men Fox series, Callisto versus Rogue for control of the Morlocks. That happened in 170. 217. The first time that a ragtag team of X-Men thoroughly defeats the Juggernaut. And we talking about thoroughly defeats them. We're talking about, I believe the team was Dazzler. It was Dazzler, Rogue, Longshot, and Psylocke. That happened in this issue. And then we got a later issue. This is 528 towards the end of volume 1 of Uncanny X-Men here. And then we're going to run into some old school volume 1, starting with the Jim Lee era of X-Men. We got issue number 16. And then from that same volume of X-Men, 163. And then we get into the stuff that I was really looking for and was trying to get runs of here. We're going to deal with X-Men Volume 4. This is the stuff that I'm coming back into because I stopped collecting X-Men around volume 4 for Uncanny and volume 3 for the regular this X-Men series. So this is volume 4. So we got a couple copies of issue number 1. So we have that issue number 1. This one right here, that's a issue number 1. That's a Magneto issue here. And then we got that Jean Grey volume variant for issue 1, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5, and then issue 11. And then we jump over to issue 5. I should say volume 5, issue 4. So this is volume 5, issue 4. And then from volume 5, this is the 2022 annual, 2023 annual, and giant size Magneto. And that is, without a shadow of a doubt, almost took up a full hour of comic book pickups for the week here. And to think, there is more to come. We still got stuff coming from Cabot, Arkansas. A big haul from there, plus another Whatnot pack of Hulk, plus some other odds and ends from like Whatnot and other places as well. So it probably won't be as many piles of books like we had this week here, but it will be big hauls. It would be pretty big comic book hauls for maybe until after. Well, I want to say even after, because when we get into C2E2 would probably be where I kind of cut things off because things are going to get graded. But that's where we are at here with comic book pickups for the week here. So on that note, we're going to switch gears to some accountability before we get into tonight's topic here. The accountability here is that we're now officially on page 49 of Primetime Saturday Night here. I'm not going to be able to get Amazonia 8 done for C2E2, but I'm going to try my darndest to get issue 5 for Primetime Saturday Night done and printed for C2E2 here. And like I said, it's like the proof is going to be always in the pudding here. So I got to show you graphics of what is being done to keep, to help me stay honest with you, the fans of the books here. That's the final layout for page 44. And then, I'm going to show you the different panel layouts as we go along here for the last match of the issue here. As we go along here, it's not completely laid out in page format as of yet, but we're getting there. We are actually getting there, and we're going to keep moving along and keep plugging and chugging. If it wasn't for the Whatnot show and having to rip and run to do errands earlier this morning, I probably would have had page 49 done, and then we'll be down to our last 3 pages here. but that means that come Sunday, I gotta be on my grind here and getting these last couple of pages done. But I'm showing you guys this, like I said, this is accountability. I want you guys to keep me accountable for keeping and making certain that these issues get done. It's one thing to say that you're a creator or a writer or artist, and then every so often you're not showing anything that you're working on or anything substantial where you're just like, oh, I'm working on a book or something to that magnitude. And it's like, once in a blue moon, you're showing something here. But no, if I'm working on something and I'm trying to get it done, I'm going to try to get it and show people how things are and where we're standing at and everything to that magnitude. So that's the accountability for this week here. We're getting there. The graphic work is almost done for this particular issue. I hopefully you guys enjoyed the previews and stuff that I've been showing with these pages and everything, because most people won't do that, especially especially if you're trying to garner attention to your work and everything. Most people would get kind of standoffish about it and be like, wait until it's done. I'm more along the lines like, no, hold me accountable, because if I'm not coming out this stuff timely, then that tells me I'm not doing my job here. So with that out the way, that brings us to our topic here. And I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. And I'm also going to put this disclaimer out there now. The topic that I picked here, and the disclaimer for it is not something that I am advocating for. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not trying to convince people to do this as a whole, but it is a thought that popped in that I want to open up the door for the discussion on it, because it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense to a certain degree to get a better understanding as as us as collectors as a whole here, to understand the full problem that C.P.R. creates when it comes to graded comics. And it makes me kind of wonder if us as collectors understand that we're part of the problem, not the grading companies and everything to that magnitude here. So the controversial thought here is that we should stop the C.P.R. process. We should stop doing crack, press, and resubmit. And this is coming back to the fact that I'm looking at getting more and more books graded, and I'm seeing how places like CBCS and CGC is revamping their resubmitting process. And I thought about it. It's like, well, if people are sending their books out to be graded in the first place, to get it encapsulated, and the encapsulation is some form of protection outside of like your standard bag and board or Mylar and board, it's supposed to be a little bit better than that. Why are we getting upset when why are we getting so upset when we're not liking the grade that these companies are giving? And if there are things where we have like pressable defects, we could re-clean the stuff and everything to that magnitude, why aren't we doing that from the very beginning? Even more so, and this is the, if I could say, the point that I want to make here. And let me get this extra light. I want to get this extra light out the way here because I got too much glare. So just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, that's a little bit better. It's going to make me a little bit darker, but it's a little bit better because I was like getting this weird glare here. The thing that bothered me more so than this is, why isn't grading companies offering true C.P.R. services? If they're the ones that are truly grading the books and putting it up to a set standard, Why aren't they offering beginning to end CPR services for resubmittals? It makes you kind of wonder on that aspect here, because technically they would know what is wrong with the book. They're the ones that are detecting it and grading it based upon defects. They do, and I know places like Beckett and CGC, they have their own pressing people that do their pressing and everything. We got professional pressers out there independently, which we'd send our books to get pressed and whatnot. But yet we get ticked off about a grade that we receive, and we feel that we need to take it upon ourselves to crack them open, take care of the defects, and not submit in the actual certification numbers and all the other stuff on a timely manner to keep the census correct. I mean, it's a lot of problems with the CPR process from the accounting aspect of things here. And that last part makes me wonder. And when I say makes me wonder, literally, why isn't CGC? Why isn't CBCS? Why isn't PGX? Why isn't EGS truly offering a CPR service if you feel that your book is misgraded? I mean, if you truly think about it, it wouldn't be that hard for them to hire people to do legitimate cleaning. They already do the pressing. So why is it that they don't do it? I mean, granted, they're using cases where where we technically shouldn't be opening them up. Once we get it encapsulated, it's going to stay encapsulated. It is meant for us not to be able to tamper with the book. Now, I know with CGC and I know with CBCS is that once it leaves their hands, that grade is what it is. So they're saying at the time that it leaves their company, the grade on that book is this. It does not necessarily mean that the grade of the book stays that way. It could go down because it could get damaged within the casing and everything for it getting jostled around and everything through air travel or whatever means that the book travels back to you to get it back into your hands and everything. But to be that upset about a grade where you feel that you have to take it upon yourself to open up the casing and taking the responsibility, which I'm happy to see that on resubmittal that they're up here saying, hey, you have this, what was the certification number and everything, and you send it's like, and some people actually send their labels back and everything along with it. There's other people that will open up the case and throw it away, which to me is a no-no because it throws off the census. Now, the other thing that ticks me off is how fast some like Beckett and CGC takes forever to update their census off of a resubmittal. Because normally when a resubmittal happens, they 9 times out of 10 change the certification number. You don't always get the certification number, same certification number. And I see your comment here, Tori here. Tori says that I never crack a slab except to get a signature. And even with well, again, if you're cracking to get a signature, who's cracking the case? 9 times out of 10 is either CGC or CBCS, the person who is going to eventually regrade it after the signature happens here. But it's like, I don't know too many people who would crack open a graded book, have it signed, and sit on it. That doesn't make any sense. Normally they would have some type of grading company there to witness the signature and everything. They take the book back and they get a brand new certification here. Yeah. Like that's the normal process. We get the when you get the signature, but the problem with that I'm bringing up with dealing with the CPR process that most people use. If we ask customers of these grading companies if they wanted us to open up the casing to possibly do what we do for CPR, they would make the casing in such a way where we would have the availability to open it up and reclose it back. But no, they do not. Why? Because there is a certification. There is an accountability about the grade received. For the grade to be truly valid, they have to make certain that there's no tampering in any form or fashion. Therefore, we are not allowed to open up those casings here. Now, if you want a case to open, that you could open up and close and give you the similar, encapsulation like one of these graded slabs, go ahead and get it. One of those what is it called, comic capsules. Get one of them. It pretty much serves the same purpose. You could print up your own label and everything, and you have your books nicely able to be displayed. And I believe comic capsules now have the UV protection on them, so it's a double win in that aspect here. But me as a preservationist, when it comes to comics, the only reason why I would get a comic book graded is more so to, not really to preserve the book, to keep it from being damaged, but to preserve the book in such a way where I know it would take less damage than if I would have kept it in a bag and board and everything. It doesn't necessarily keep it away from water damage. It doesn't necessarily keep it away from UV damage and all the other stuff, but there is actual insurance purposes and other financial purposes that you want to do this, because let's just say what happens if your house catches on fire. They could track that certification number and verify the actual condition of the book, and the insurance company will pay you the actual price for that book based upon that condition, as opposed to something like this that's just in a bag and board that has not been actually analyzed and appraised. That's the real reason why grading came about here. Yeah, it was more of a vanity thing at first, but once they started applying certification numbers on it, it became more about validity of the grade at the time that they had it. They're certifying that, they're becoming the expert to say this is certified as this as of this date. It doesn't necessarily mean that it stays that grade, but it was at least certified as a near mint 9.8 or a near mint 9.9 or a very fine 8.5. Though that goes a long way when it comes to insurance purposes. So like I said, it makes me wonder why are we cracking these cases open in the hopes of getting a better grade? Now, I do know some YouTubers advocate not to do the cracking of the case unless beyond a shadow of doubt you could correct the mistakes on those books and you had the financial means to do so. In a way, I agree. It's like, if you had the means to do so, then do it. But I wouldn't get upset if a book, if a book comes back a 9.4 and I was quite certain that it was a 9.8. Sometimes you have to take that step back and say to yourself, it's like, am I using the same tools and using the same information that they're grading this book off of? Now, there's times where we're up here thinking that a book is a 9.8 and it comes back like a 7.5 or a 6.5. Yeah, but then you have to really pay attention to what they're saying in the notes. Now, if it comes back, and this, I'm not certain how often this happens, but I have never seen it in most of my submissions here. If I thought something was a 9.8 and it comes back a 6.5, I have never had those type of books not come back without graders notes. Now, the ones that does not come back with graders notes is when I'm up here submitting something that I believe is a 9.8, and it comes back a 9.6. You might not get a graders note. You think it's a 9.8, it comes back a 9.4. You might not get a graders note. You think it's a 9.8, it comes back a 9.2. You may not get it. But if you think it's a 9.8 and it comes back a 4.5, think again. You're going to get a whole bunch of graders notes for that. But it is what it is. Yeah, 8.5. There's nothing wrong with an 8.5. There's nothing wrong with a 9.0. There's nothing really wrong with a 9.2. But I believe we put too much onus on that 9.8 because, again, 9.8, 9.9, 10 is kind of like the standard to say that this is the most pristine book out there. And to be quite honest, it's really a subjective call between. If people don't realize how much subjectivity there is between a 10, a 9.9, a 9.8, and a 9.6. It's a lot of subjectivity. And it is what it is. Well, again, I'm not one of those people that says screw insurance, but I have been messed over before. And I have asked insurance adjusters what to do in certain cases here. Now you have to be mindful. I do own some high value books that are graded. And that's where I have to kind of like put my foot down and everything, because if I would have left like my X-Men #1, we're talking about the one from 1963, not the one from 1993. If I would have left that raw, I would be hard pressed to find somebody to evaluate it that an insurance company would agreed upon. And I know several insurance adjusters, and that was kind of like one of the things here. It's like, who is appraising this? Have you checked into this appraiser and that appraiser? It gets very convoluted and it's not fun. Yeah, just have fun with the paper and ink. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. But it's like you got people who do this for a business, and it's an investment for them. So I have to also take in consideration of that. I mean, people like you and me, we will read this stuff and we will get, reprints and all this other stuff, and we will keep the reprints and stuff in paper, but we're going to try to protect our big books the best that we can to keep us in pristine condition for as long as we can. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go right back and sell them. It's just more along life. We're trying to protect our investment and keep it for like heirloom type of stuff. In my case, I'm actually been partnering up with people, and we're getting together to create avenues such as galleries and museums for this type of stuff. So that's when you get into that aspect of it, you have to think about insurance. You have to think about long-term and longevity. Not for, I'm going to flip this and make a whole bunch of money. It's like, no, we're not even thinking about that. We're just thinking about for a long-term longevity. We're going to keep some things, raw, and some things going to be graded. It's just the nature of the beast here. Yeah, it's like some of the Doc Strange Volume 1, Frank Bruner, baby. Yep. $80 raw book. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have that same person, you have another person who would look at that Doc Strange 1 at $80 raw, and they would see that, if it was a 9.8, it's close to like a $3,000 book. They want to go and get that 9.8 certification and be like, I got a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 book. But it all comes back down to subjectivity. It really does. And that's one of the reasons why I question about, should we stop doing CPR on these books? Why are we cracking out and cleaning, repressing, and then resubmitting them? If you are a comic book store and you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck, I can understand that. But for the lay member collector, it's kind of like one of those things that, is it really worth your time and effort? And how come you cannot accept the grade that was given? And these are some of the things that I talk to other YouTube creators to, here. It's like I talk to people like Bryce Comics about this stuff. Reggie Collects about this type of stuff. Shout outs to both Brian Gordon and Reggie. Oh, and speaking of Reggie, great video that you had about where we kind of disagree, but I understand where he was coming from, and it's like, it's a good rule of thumb, but it's not something that I would advocate for. And what his last video was about was only collecting first appearances. And I was up here, I was like, it's a decent rule of thumb, but it's not something that I would advocate for, because you have to understand the speculation behind first appearances. There are a lot of first appearances in the modern era of comics where the books are not worth a hill of beans. But there's other first appearances that are rather pricey. And it really gets into what characters do you like and whether or not their first appearance is really worth the money. If in the more modern sense, yeah, if you could stay up under like, the $2,000 or $2,500 mark to get it, so be it. Not that big of a deal. But when it comes to collectors like me, when it gets to like the high dollar value type stuff, it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen unless, we plan out and strategize and really, really lay out the foundation to get those books paid for and to be able to maintain them. But right, I mean, but getting back to what Aaron is saying, it's really about subjectivity. When you really come back down to it, when you're up here looking for that near mint grade, from 10.0 to, I would say, 9.2, there's subjectivity. And the biggest gap of subjectivity is really between 10.0 and 9.6. When you get to 9.4, there is significant things that will make a book a 9.4. There are significant things that make a book a 9.2. There are significant things that make a book a 9.0. But when you're around that 9.6, 9.8, 9.9, and 10, the subjectivity of the most minute detail comes into play, and it's not even worth arguing over anymore. It really is. It's like, okay, somebody at, the grading company have to flip a coin and say, is it something that's big enough based upon these criteria? They have to probably flip a coin and be like, yay or nay. It is what it is. It's just that subjective. It's not somebody going up there blindly. It's like, that's a 10.0. They're not doing that. They're looking at specific guidelines. They're using specific measuring tools to do this here. And even Tori had even lashed out on a CGC video talking about what makes a 9, 9, and 10. And the very first thing that she stated is like, these guys are not using gloves. I was like, yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it wholeheartedly here. I'm a friend, so I'm going to be in and out, but I love this show here. Yep. Yeah, I dig your thought process. But that's the whole nature of the thing. And I'm not saying for people not to do CPR. That's what my whole disclaimer is. But I'm just putting it out there, because if this process was a thing which is truly accepted across the board, why isn't the grading companies having this service on a resubmit? If you truly feel that they are in the wrong, and you don't have the means to find somebody that can clean and press for you, and they know what would fix the book to bump it up to that next grade, why aren't they doing that service? It just goes to show you how subjective it is. It may not be something that is just a quick fix. And you're up here saying it's like, oh, it's like it look this, that, and the other. It's like, and you're meticulously looking at a book, you might be adding defects that are not there. And then while you trying to correct them, you might be introducing new defects into the book. Is it really worth it in the long run? And I know for a fact a lot of other YouTubers out there who talked about this topic, always talking about rolling the dice and gambling on crack, press, and resubmit. It's not a guarantee. Even if you did everything right, there is no guarantee for a grade bump, but there's always a guarantee for a possible downgrade. So again, is it really worth the gamble? And on top of that, if it wasn't a gamble, why isn't these grading companies offering that as a service? Because it's not something that is easily looked at and quantifiable in that aspect here, where it's just like, oh, just clean it up some more, get it pressed, this, that, and the other, and done. Even more so, your book coming back as a purple label, restored, where people up here say, oh, there's color touch. And you're up here, it's like, well, I grabbed this book off the rack, I didn't do anything to this book. Where is it in color touch? You don't know what errors could be introduced in that book because of a press, or you don't know what could have happened, while you was cleaning it, where it could have did something where it looks like it's a possibility that there was color touch, where something bled and it looks like it's been touched up. You just don't know. It's too subjective. The grading criteria and the person who is doing the grading, it gets very subjective. Now, whether or not it's worth it in the long run, I leave that up to you. But the reason I brought the topic up, because we need to talk logically about this more often, because we get into our emotions a little bit too much, as far as I felt that I got robbed on this grade. And then when you truly take that step back, and when I say truly, I'm talking about when you remove yourself, remove your emotion, remove your attachment, and sit there and actually look at the books itself. Like, for example, my Sensational She-Hulk 40. I knew that it had some defects, so I was expecting it to come back maybe like a 9.0, and it came back, I think it's like an 8.5. And I was like, oh, I got robbed. But when I took that step back and looked at the notes, it's like everything that they said in the notes, I actually saw it. I literally saw it on the cover and on the books and everything to that magnitude. And I know there was nothing I could really do about it, because it was just exactly as is. It's a matter of just being able to see what is there for what it is. Now, I know that there's a lot of, if I could say, YouTubers like myself who are getting so used to having books graded where they have developed their eye, where they know certain things are a 9.8. And if it doesn't get the 9.8, they could come back and look at the grader's notes and be like, oh yeah, now I see what they're talking about. I understand why they made it a 9.4, or I understand why it's a 9.6. But that's something that you have to learn about their process and understand how they may grade something. But that only comes from taking yourself out of the equation, taking your emotional attachment out of the equation. Now, some people just, they just feel how they're going to feel regardless. And I'm not going to take that away from them. That's the reason why I have the disclaimer. I'm not trying to convince anybody not to do anything or to do anything. I just want us to have open dialogue about whether the C.P.R process is truly needed in collecting, especially since there is a resubmission process and these services are not being offered by the grading company. And it makes you kind of wonder why. Why are we, the collector itself, taking that risk of opening up the case, which they make certain that we don't have the availability to do it safely, to allow us to possibly reclean, press it again, and resubmit to them, only to go back through the subjective process all over again. Sometimes it just doesn't make too much sense to go through that gamble all over what you feel because of emotional attachment. But it's just, it's just one of those things that you just got to understand why the process is what it is. They wouldn't be, it's like CGC would not be coming out with books to say this is our grading standards. Books such as the Overstreet Price Guide would not have a breakdown of what is, near mint, very fine, very good, all these other breakdowns and the grading standard there. They wouldn't have that documented if it wasn't overly subjective. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And how you may see it may not be a way a professional grader would see it, or a grading company may see it. It may be close, but it's not going to be 100%, because why? You might not be using the exact same tools. And a lot of times, most people go by eye. Another example is like with my Wonder Woman 204. I could have sworn that was going to be a 7.5, but it came back at 6.5. Was I overly upset about it? No. After CCS pressed it and everything, I was happy with the way that it presented. The fact that it wasn't a 7.5, it is what it is. But I'm happy with it. More importantly, it's what I know had happened. Another example with my Migraines Adventures number 80, the very first appearance of Doom Patrol. I sent in a book that was initially graded at a 1.5. I had it pressed by them. It came back at 3.5. I was dancing down the street off of that grade bump, because you never know. You never truly know what you truly have until you have better eyes on the price. And like I said, maybe the book really needed that press to force it up several grades like it did. I would have never known that until I did what I did. Now, would I crack that book out and say, oh, it really was a 5.5? Hell no. Because I knew where I started at. I know what that book was before I submitted it in. Now, this year, I'm about to get ready to send in a Lois Lane 109. My guess, as of right now, is a 5.5, because it's a black cover, has a little bitty small chip up in it. Not a big one. It's a tiny one. It presents very well. I mean, if I showed it to you, you would be like, oh man, that's that's a high graded book. I'm thinking it's somewhere about a 5.56, 5.5665. If I'm able to get a 8.5 or a 7.5 for it, I'll be through the roof. If it comes back higher than that, oh my goodness, for the investment that I made on that, I would probably be one of the few people crying tears of joy. But I know what I have in that book, and there's going to be other books that I'm going to send, along the lines of that ilk here. But saying all that to say is that you got to get to the point where you have to accept what is given to you from the grading company itself, only because you have to understand the subjectivity of the grading. And I know some people, that's one of the reasons why people want to keep their books raw, because again, oh, we could haggle over condition. It's like, yeah, you can haggle over condition, but people haggling over condition 9 times out of 10 are haggling over because it's being sold. And because you're dealing with the sales aspect of it, that's a natural part of it. You know, quibbling over, oh, there's a little bit speck of dirt over there, and it's a little bit rolled here. Trying to get that little bit of edge to get either the price to bump down to your liking or raised up to your liking, depending on which side of the fence you're on, if you're just on the seller side or on the buyer side. But with graded comics, that's taken out. And once it's graded and encapsulated, that's taken out your hands. And I know some people don't like that aspect. I have watched several YouTubers, don't like that aspect, and the reason why they want to stick with only raw books. I get it. And then we got other ones that love that aspect and they wish more people would move towards graded books. More power to them. But to quibble over a grade from, EGS, PGX, CBCS, CGC, is not worth the time and effort. So that's the reason why I have it as a controversial thought. Maybe, just maybe, we should just stop with C.P.R. It is your prerogative. Prerogative. I'm not going to say this is what you need to do or this is what you should do. It's your prerogative. Well, I just put it out there. It's like, let's play devil's advocate. And playing devil's advocate is like, this is what I see as the reason for us not to do it. But don't get me wrong. I see the major payoff when you do it correctly. I have witnessed it. I have not had it done myself because I don't crack stuff open. I don't crack books open myself. But I have seen others who do the C.P.R. process get very big financial gains from it. So that's the reason why I say what I said here. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I want to put this out as an open dialogue. It's like, maybe think about it for a second. Put it out there. Think about it for a second before you make your choice. Because once the choice is made, there's no turning back. That's the whole thing. Once that case is open, there's no turning back at that point. So give some good thought before you think about the C.P.R. And on that note, we got a couple more moments here. If there's anything that I said here that you want to talk about, let's go ahead and talk about it here. But man, that was a lot of books to cover for tonight. And there's going to be much more coming in the next week here. After the show here, I'm probably going to format the pages that I showed you here a few seconds ago for Primetime Saturday Night number 5 here. And then I might call it a night here and get up tomorrow morning and try to get the next 4 pages done before I can start lettering here. So I'm going to give it a couple more moments here for those who are watching to ask questions and everything. I hope that this conversation was enlightening to you. That's the whole thing. My whole goal is not to tell you what to do, but just to bring out conversation and keep the ball rolling. Because why? Front of Desk is an interactive show. I don't have all the answers, but I might bring up some questions that you might have answers for, and it might shed some light and open up my eyes to newer things, and I might open up your eyes to newer things, and that's the key thing. If one of the reasons why, if you ever ask me what other YouTube shows that you listen to and go by and kind of, put, on a higher plane than all the other ones, it's like, you know what? I look at Bry's comics as one for, especially for like investment. He breaks it down. He used GPA. He breaks a lot of stuff down. He breaks a lot of the logic down as far as the actual investment is concerned here. I look at Reggie Collects a lot. I love getting to conversation with him in his chat and his comments, especially when he makes certain statements that really is intended to open up the dialogue about some of the myths and debunk a lot of the things that we hold near and dear as far as collecting, such as the only collect first appearances. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I know that I'm not right either, but I do feel the way that I feel is like there's a lot more to that statement than meets the eye. I get what he's saying wholeheartedly. I understand exactly what he's saying. It's just that once you understand what the underlying stuff that goes into only collecting first appearances, then you will get the bigger picture of why what he says holds true. But on the surface, no. And I saw some of the negative comments that came out from that, and I was like, I just shook my head. But I told him, it's like I disagree with it, but my only disagreement with that statement is that you have to understand the speculation on first appearances. Once you understand that, what he said is a good rule of thumb. It's a very good rule of thumb. But to make it work as a good rule of thumb, you have to understand the speculation behind first appearances, which again, that also covers things like first issues, other series outside of that, characters' own titles, stuff to that magnitude. So understanding that type of stuff plays a factor. And, depending on whether or not you're a brand new collector or old school collector, newer collectors can use it immediately. Older collectors cannot. And it really is what it is here. No worries, Elaine. We're about to get ready to wrap up here. You missed most of the actual discussion here. We was talking about the whole C.P.R. Whether we should stop using the C.P.R. method for graded books. And and I know that you're not very deep into comic book collecting. C.P.R. is a shortened acronym for crack, press, and resubmit, which means that if you send something out to be graded, you crack open the case to get the book out, you clean it, press it again, and then submit it back to the grading company for grading. C.P.R. Was busy editing the Atcon comic and getting it ready to print. Cool. You missed a whole bunch of brand new books that is going into my collection and some of the stuff that's going to get sold off and whatnot. What I just told you about tonight's topic here, and some of the imagery that I gotta finish putting the pages for Prime Time Saturday Night number 5. We are now on page 49 of 52 pages, so we're there. We're almost there. We got 4 more pages to go, so that's where we're at here. So, like I said, I was just pretty much, wrapping up things here. wrapping up the conversation, wrapping up everything, giving people opportunity to say their piece and everything here. Because you know how I run things. This is a fully interactive show. This is just as much as your show as it's just as much as mine. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool in that aspect. But getting back to what I was just saying, it's like, I listen to Reggie Collects because he does what I do. He breaks down things here. He has very good logic behind it, and it makes sense. Swagglehouse is another YouTube channel for comic book collecting that I hold close to the chest, because he is more about breaking down the news when it comes to different types of scandals, different types of scandals, breaking news as far as the overall collecting world is concerned here. And he has a means and method to break things down pretty well. And he's like one of the few and beloved commentators about this industry. It is what it is. I need to finish the blurb for the back of the cover, and then I'm done. Cool, excellent, nice. So it's almost ready to go to print, and you're good to go here. Speaking of which, I need to figure out what I'm going to do for the kind of like the teaser, what's in this issue here, because now that made me think about how we did the last couple of issues with the teaser in the back talking about what's happening in this issue. So I gotta think about that now. So but that comes more or less in the lettering process. So I get to it when I get to it here. So it looks like we're not going to have too many more comments here, because now Elaine and I is actually talking business, dealing with the Primetime Saturday Night #5. Because why? She's the editor on that. So she's the one that says to me, it's like, hey, Joe, this part of the story does not make sense. She's not just doing the whole, the I before E except after C, or this word is misspelled, or this is not grammatically correct. She up here, it's like, Juggernaut would not say something to that magnitude while she's up in the air trying to slam somebody. She would say something like this. And it makes more sense this way than that way. Those are the editors that we need back in comics. Somebody that could help people keep stories straight and continuity going. But that's a topic for a different time, different day. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys have the rest of your Saturday here. And on the East Coast, it's almost Sunday. So I gotta warn you guys, time moves forward 1 hour at about 2 or 3 a.m. Sunday. So I think when it's supposed to hit 2 o'clock, it automatically jumps to 3, or when it hits 3 o'clock, it jumps automatically to 4. We're losing an hour tonight. So make certain that you set your clocks appropriately. Don't get fired because you're an hour late. Make certain you have to get your clocks and stuff before head hit the pillow and everything. That way you don't get messed up because of daylight savings here. Unless you're in Arizona, then you don't have to worry about it. I'm not certain if there's any more states outside of Arizona that doesn't have daylight savings time. But it happens, and it's kind of messing with things because I'm so used to old school back in the day when I was a kid, because daylight savings didn't happen until I think like April. Now it's happened so early in March that it's just so ridiculous. And then it sets back in November, when it used to set back earlier in October, I believe. But it is what it is. It's like, those measures in mathematics, we just gotta trust in science in that aspect here. But if if things go haywire, we know why it is, because we're following bad rule of thumb. But anyway, don't forget to set your clocks ahead 1 hour before you go to bed. That's the main thing here, because when you wake up here, when you wake up, it's going to be 1 hour later than what you're accustomed to. So on that note, I'm going to try to let you get as much of that hour that you're going to miss back here. So until next week, live long, live life, grow and be well. And I see you when I see you, and we're out of here. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Either see you this upcoming Thursday for Comic Book Spectrum, or right back here for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. Good night, and even Elaine saying night lovelies. So have a good evening. Bye.